Today on Geek What, we delve into the intriguing world of Ian David Diaz, a British filmmaker whose career spans over 2 decades. Known for his work on films like Bad Day and The Killing Zone, Diaz has carved a niche in the independent film scene with his distinctive storytelling and strong female protagonists. From his early days directing action thrillers to his recent foray into web series with Rebecca Gold. Diaz's journey is a testament to his creative vision and resilience in the competitive world of filmmaking. Stay tuned as we explore the life and career of Ian David Diaz. What's up, nerds? So today we are going to be sitting down and chit-chatting with director Ian David Diaz. Ian, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right, actually. It's a bit warm, actually, over here in England.
Oh, right on.
What time is it over there?
At this exact moment, it is 10:11.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're 5 hours behind you guys.
All right. Okay. So
yeah.
this is me from the future. Hello.
Right on. Yeah.
No flying cars yet.
So
right
on. Oh, bummer. I was hoping.
Yeah.
How are you doing over there?
I'm doing all right. As I said, it's really warm over here. Doesn't look like it's warm though, but it's very muggy.
Yeah, you guys don't have AC.
Nope, because it's very rare that we get it warm like this. So when it does get warm, we're unprepared. So,
right on.
I never go on when it's this warm. Never go on the London subways, as you guys call it, because you would just,
underground.
Yeah, you would just bake and die.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would bake anyways. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you are a director, writer, producer, all that fun stuff. You know, what got you into wanting to be a filmmaker?
So do you want the long answer or the short one?
Can you tell us what were your earlier influences that led you to filmmaking?
There was one film that actually made me want to become a director, just the one film. And it was 1977. Maybe you can guess the movie. It was 1977, and I saw Star Wars. And I was convinced I wanted to do special effects because I loved all the models and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I started searching everywhere, trying to find out if there was any place I can, because there was a special effects company in Vauxhall where I live, but they weren't opening doors to anyone. And then I carried on in this crusade. And then come August, there was a film called Close Encounters that came out.
Oh my God.
And I don't know if you remember that film.
I love that movie.
Okay, so there's a scene in it where Richard Dreyfuss is trying to convince his wife to come home because his wife left him with the kids, and he has a mountain in his living room, and he's like trying to talk to her, and on the TV you could see the mountain. That's what he was building. I remember sitting in the cinema in my head going, "Look at the freaking TV, you moron!" I remember after coming out the cinema, thinking, how could a film do that to me as someone that's watching it? And then I realized that making models wasn't what I wanted to do. It was actually to direct and write. And so it was because of Close Encounters, and I blame Spielberg for being poor for 10 years. It was because of that I made a beeline to become a director and a writer. So there you go.
Yeah, I love that.
Why I am. That's why I am a director. It's Spielberg's fault. It's his fault.
That's Spielberg. He'll get you every time.
Yeah.
So one of the projects that you've worked on before is your web series Rebecca Gold, which I'll ask you more questions about in a little bit. But one thing I wanted to ask you is, what inspired the storyline for Rebecca Gold?
Okay, so I didn't really want to make Rebecca Gold. Oh. I have a friend named Katie who played the original Rebecca. I've been friends with her for a very long time. A very long time, in fact. And one day we went to lunch and she was moaning that she didn't get good parts and stuff. And kind of like to shut her up. No, I don't mean that, Katie. But I said, look, I'll write something for you. And then I wrote something for her. And then I think it was 5 years later, we started shooting it. It was Rebecca Gold. And that's how that started. But because the first 5 episodes was quite successful in the festival route, there are a lot of people saying, well, when are you going to make season 2? When are you going to do season 2? And I kept saying, well, I need money to make season 2. And then one day I got really fed up and I just went, do you know what? I'm just going to shoot the damn thing anyway. So I wrote something. I wrote season 2 and was far more bigger than I could afford. But I said to myself, I'll screw it, because when you watch all these people telling you how to make short films and low budget films, they always say to you, shoot within the means that you've got, right? So make sure that if you write something, you can get access to people's houses, you can get access to acts and stuff. I just went, fuck all that. I just went, fuck all that. I'm going to try and do something that's totally impossible for me to do in my financial situation. And I'm going to do it by increments. So I have to find actors that will actually go with me on this journey and won't stop halfway through, otherwise I'm screwed. Right. And so to every actor I said, look, I'm going to have faith in humanity. We're not going to sign any contracts. You're going to promise me that you'll stay and do this project till I finish it, and so that we could be so we can create something that's quite new. And I think they agreed with it. So I said to them, look, this is going to be a journey that we're going to take, and I'm going to have faith that you're not going to abandon it. I mean, Katie already abandoned it because I think she got offered more work and stuff like that, so she couldn't do season 2. And so when I asked so this is what I keep telling people: when something bad happens, it always leads to something good if you have faith, right? So I made this horror film, and it was I got hired to make this horror film, and it was a terrible horror film. It really was. The production was just really bad. The script was awful. I just did it for the experience. And it was just bad all the way through. But I happened to meet Ella, who is she was one of the stars of the film, who is the new Rebecca Gold. So out of that bad experience, I literally found my new Rebecca. So but yeah, and we're still on the journey. So we shot about 78% of it so far. I mean, a few people dropped out, but but that's just the way it goes, I guess. So this is where we're up to at the moment, where we're literally fighting to finish it now.
Right on.
So, yeah.
And so, like, when it comes to when you were writing this Rebecca Gold, did you always want her to be like this kind of superhuman agent that would went off script, or did you want it to be, like, what was the starting point when you started writing this character?
Again, it was because of Katie that I wrote it for Katie, and she abandoned the project. So that's just showed, don't it? But everybody liked the character. They liked, and also it wasn't my intention for the character to be gay either, because one of before I met Katie, the idea of Rebecca Gold was swimming around in my mind, and I remember writing a synopsis, because there's a channel called Channel 5 over here, and I knew someone at Channel 5, and they were looking for diverse characters, especially gay characters in TV shows. So I wrote the synopsis and I sent it to them, and they were really interested to a point, but then they kind of said no in the end. So it was just there. So I just kind of tailored that towards Katie. Do you know what I mean? So if I had to go back again, I would never make Rebecca gay, but it seems to work really well for
I think so.
The premise, for the premise.
Yeah,
so,
and their loss, I'll tell you what.
Well, we all like to think that, right?
No, it is their loss. It is their loss. Okay, so what inspired the plot of Bad Day then, and then how did you develop the character dynamics for that movie?
Okay, so again, right, you do things out of desperation, because I was not getting any work. So with Bad Day, it's a long journey, actually. We made a film called Killing Zone. It's the first movie I ever directed, called The Killing Zone, right?
Oh, I have questions about Killing Zone.
All right. So because that leads up to Bad Day. So basically what happens is that we made Killing Zone, then we made a film called Dead Room. And then no money was coming in and we were desperate. So I remember I was in I think it was a Blockbusters. Was it Blockbusters? I can't remember. I was in some store, and my friend Frank rang up. He's the big bald guy in Bad Day. He's like the main villainess's bodyguard.
Yeah.
And he rang me up and he said, Ian, I'm selling my house. he says, I'm selling it for like $1 million plus, whatever. And he goes, oh, I've got a little bit of money left. Do you want some? Do you want some? And I just was joking. I said, yeah, give me $8,000. I said, okay, to make a film. And he said, all right, I'll give you $8,000. And I was like, damn, I have to put the phone down. I was like, I should ask for more. Should ask for more. And so he gave me $8,000, and we Panasonic gave us a camera, which was in those days was kind of unique. It was kind of a small digital camera. It's the first time we ever shot on digital, because everything else we shot on film. So so we started shooting. So I wrote Bad Day. I wrote it out of desperation. I wrote it so to fit it within the $8,000 thing. But in luck was on our side, because we got some really big TV stars just to star in it, and none of them got paid. None of them. So Claire Goose was quite big in England. She was in a show called Casualty or Holby City. I can't remember which one it was. She was quite big. And I sent the script. Can't remember. I sent the script to somebody. The casting agent. We had a casting agent. I sent the script to casting agent. She sent it to Claire Goose's agent. And instead of the agent ringing me up, Claire Goose rang me up and said, I want to do this. And I'm like, yeah, you want to do this? She goes, yeah. And I said, why? You're not getting paid a bean. She goes, because she was in a show called Waking the Dead, which is a detective show. She said, when I was in Waking the Dead, I didn't get a chance to run around with a gun. I didn't get a chance to beat people up. In this script, I get a chance to beat people up and run around with a gun. So I said, okay, fine. So she joined, then Donna Eyre joined. Donna Eyre's quite, she used to be a presenter. She's quite big as well. Then we had Sarah Harding, through my friend, who's like from Girls Aloud. She passed away, breast cancer. Everybody knows that. And then, and it just rolled along, and we shot it in 2 weeks. Was it 3 weeks? I can't remember. Shot it really fast because we didn't use a tripod. It was just handheld. We were just running around, held it and shooting as fast as we can. And I can't remember what the question was. What was the question?
It was how did you develop the character dynamics for? But no, that was great. I enjoyed every minute of that story. Go ahead.
Okay, so basically, when I thought of the idea, Bad Day was basically a homage to all the cop movies, because in England we don't make cop movies. Right. And if we do make a cop movie, it's all talking heads. So what I wanted to do was make a cop movie, and it would be a homage to the 70s and 80s cop movies. And in cop movies, they always have the tropes, right? So they always have the black screaming boss, which we have. They always have the wary detective who's seen everything, which we have. And then there's always the rookie, which we have. Then there's always back projection shots in the car, which we have.
That's so funny.
And then the detective always has a really cool car, which we have. Do you know what I mean?
So you're saying this, and I'm like, oh my god, that's so true. Now I remember that. I was like, I didn't even think about that. So yeah.
So it was meant to be a homage to that kind of genre of cop films. As I said, in England, they don't do things like that. I remember we had a scene in it where a guy named Trig, who sells guns, and he was like kneeling next to a car, and he was giving it to Claire and stuff like that. We had to have the police present. The police had to be present because we were holding fake guns. Do you know what I mean?
Right on.
So we had to deal with things like that and stuff like that. But it was meant to be a nod to the American cop films of its time. I mean, Clint Eastwood saying, what is it? Do you feel lucky, punk? I think that's where it started from, right? So in Lethal Weapon, I'm too old for this shit. That's their line. And now in Bad Day, it was I can't remember what was his line. What was this? What was the main character's line? He says a lot. He says same day, different shit, same day, or something like that. I can't remember the line. But so we stuck close to the tropes of the cop movie. And that was Bad Day. That was Bad Day. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of Sarah Harding, you worked with her on Bad Day. What was it like working with her?
She was nice. She was drunk sometimes. But she was a party girl. She used to go to parties. I remember when we shot stuff it was a hotel scene we did with her, and she was a bit drunk. She'd been partying all night. She came in and she hadn't slept, but she was still on point. Do you know what I mean? So you know, I mean, it was a novelty to have her on. She only did one film before ours, and it was a good part for her because she wanted to be an actress. And yeah, she was just really pleasant to work with. She didn't give me any trouble. She was always laughing all the time. You know, she was a lot of fun, I thought.
Right on. Yeah. Okay, so you had mentioned it, so I did want to ask about this because I find it fascinating. So, can you discuss the technical aspects of filming Bad Day with the Panasonic
What?
GAG HVX 200P2 camera?
There's nothing really to discuss. I mean, it is a video camera. It doesn't have interchangeable lenses,
Mm-hmm.
so everything it's I think it's a wide angle lens a zoom wide angle lens on the camera itself. Um, so we couldn't have short depth of field shots. You know, when you have a shot of someone and in the background's all blurred. We didn't have any of that because we only had one lens on the camera, and then the lens won't come off the camera. But do you know you got the little cards, didn't you, that record stuff
Mm-hmm.
and you put it in the camera? In those days, we didn't. We had a big drive we had to
Oh, right
take to
on.
the camera because in those days the technology wasn't there, and you could hear it whizzing around when we were
Oh
shooting
my
stuff.
goodness.
So yeah, so it was. But the thing is, though, it was very flexible. If we had to shoot bad down film, we'd never complete it because shooting on digital was a lot more faster, and plus you could see what you've actually shot on the day. So unlike film, we had to wait for it to go to the baths and get cleaned, and then next day you see the rushes and stuff like that. So it was the first time shooting digital, and I found it very fascinating. But there you go. That was my experience shooting with a Sony, was it Panasonic camera?
Talking about Killing Zone, your first
Mm.
movie, what were the challenge that you faced while filming that movie, especially with the action sequences?
Um, with the Killing Zone, first of all, is trying to find money to make the Killing Zone. That was
Mhm.
the one of the very first challenges. Um, so, so this was made. I can't remember. Was it made in 1997?
It's on IMDb. It says 99.
Oh, 99. So
Yeah.
we started it a year before, which was 1998. And in
Mhm.
those days, they weren't the internet. They didn't have mobile phones. It was just a phone, landline. So me and Julian, who was my business partner at the time, we had to raise money to make this film. And I'm going off in a tandem, but I have to tell you this bit before you can understand how I shot the action
No,
sequences.
go ahead.
So basically, what happened was that we wanted to put an advert in a newspaper because we're all working class. Because in the industry, in the British film industry, I don't know if you know about England. England is broken up into class systems. So you've got the
Right.
working class, you've got the middle class, and the upper class. When it comes to art and filmmaking, majority of them are either middle class or upper class. Because if you're working class, you can't afford to go to film school or acting school. So that's why you got Batch and Hugh Grant, and they all have the same accent because they're the
Mm.
only people that can afford to go to schools like that. Yeah, I'm obviously saying something that's quite broad. I'm pretty sure there are a few working class people actually made it, like Alan Parker was working class, whatever. But anyway, I went off in a tangent there. But so basically, we didn't have any money. We were poor, and we wanted to make a film to prove ourselves, right? So we decided to put an advert in a newspaper, but the adverts cost £1,000
Mm.
to put an advert in. We don't have £1,000, but there was one newspaper that was free, right? And it was like eBay of its time, and it was called Loot. So
Mm.
you could like if you want somebody to share your flat, you put an advert in Loot, or you put it in a was it a shop window saying you want a flat share. So we put an advert in Loot saying if you don't have an experience or making a film and you want experience making the film and you want to join us, then call this number.
Mhm.
And so that weekend we had hundreds of people call us, and the phone wouldn't stop. You just pick it up and then put it down and the phone would ring. And so this is how we sold it. To cut long story short, this is how we said you can take £1,000 and you can do some crappy BBC course, or you can join us, get thrown in the deep end, and learn how to make films.
Right on.
And so 14 people said yes. So we collected £14,000, and we shot our film in 2 weeks with £14,000, which almost killed us. We did, like, every day we'd finish at 2 a.m, 3 hours sleep, and then we were up at 9. It was a nightmare. It really was. The film almost killed me. It was horrible, but we did something that nobody else did.
No, I love that. So I love that story.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, though, we got beaten by the punch from lock stock. So because we couldn't afford publicity,
right?
And they could, because they're all middle class, working class people, they could get the Times on their side saying, "No, these people from nowhere made this film called Lock Stock," and they're kind of stealing our thunder. And I remember Julian getting really angry, saying, "That's our story. We are the real McCoys. They're fake. They're fake working class."
Yeah,
people.
those fuckers.
Yeah. But anyway, that happened. But we did sell it, though, in the end. Anyway, going to the action sequences. So to do action sequences, we didn't really have a lot of action sequences. We only had gunplay in our films. We had a fight between in the second story. I don't know if you've ever seen the film.
Yeah.
Where the woman. So we had a stunt guy that got involved. His name was Dave Judge, and he works for the Bond films now. He's like a pretty big stunt guy now, and he did all this choreographing with the actors and stuff like that, the fight sequences and all that. And he did it for free. Nobody got paid. No one, because everybody wanted to see us succeed, apart from the film industry, of course. So so those action sequences were choreographed by him. The fight in the second story, where the woman hit person comes in and beats up all the men, that was choreographed by him. The gunplay is, you don't really need, you just need an actor to go around pretending to go pew pew pew. So we shot all that stuff, but it wasn't Killing Zone wasn't really an action piece. It was more thriller with the dark humor in it. That's basically what it was. And so the idea is Killing Zone would have, so when we decided to make it, we had to design it in such a way that we could do it with the very little money that we had. So we made a short before we made Killing Zone, and that cost us £1,000, right? And that was 20 minutes long. So me and Julian thought, okay, well, if we made 3 other shorts and stick them all together, then that would make a feature film, right? And that would only cost us £4,000, but it doesn't work out that way because it's a different animal when you're making a feature. So the idea was solid. So that's why we have 3 stories in there. So we knew that people were working. So if we asked someone to do something for free, they'd only be there for 3 days. And then we can grab another sound guy for the next story, and they grab another sound guy for you know what I mean? So we free them up. It wouldn't really
So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, go on.
I was going to ask you. So my favorite scene, it's so ridiculous, is the very first scene with the 2 guys just chit chatting and everything, and the one guy's talking about his girlfriend. I love that scene because it's just so, I don't know. I found it relatable, like, and normal, like just 2 dudes just sitting there waiting for, just doing some crime and everything, just nonchalantly. And I'm all like, that's how I would be. I would just be chit chatting about my normal day life. I feel bad for those 2 dudes, but so would that have been like a scene where you're just like, all right, this is going to be like a little short scene with these 2 guys, and they show up, we film for like a day or 2, and then
no, well, Julian, the guy, the last guy to get shot,
with the long hair, the guy with the long hair.
He was my business partner, so, and he was an actor as well, so he was very nervous because in those days you couldn't add blood or muzzle flashes to guns. You had to have it practical on set. So Julian and I can't remember the other guy with him, they had explosive packs just stuck to them, right? And so like big explosive packs stuck to them, and so they had to do all the scene without cuts. So just imagine, I say to them, right, we're going to do this scene. You're going to go all the way to the end. You're going to get shot. You're going to fall to the ground, right? And you can't get anything wrong because it's film, and we can't go back and record over it. So they were very nervous. So basically, you imagine he's standing there and he's got this tiny explosive on his chest, and then there's a wire going from his trousers to some guy with 2 with the two wires to do that.
He's just filming the scene, and then he's just like,
yeah, yeah,
watching the guy. The guy's just like, yeah, I'm about to explode.
yeah. So him and the other guy was very nervous because in those days you only have one go at it. Okay, so the pyrotechnic guy said, it is going to blow off, and it might hurt a bit, and so they're really nervous. So it kind of worked into their performance, really. And I mean, you see it, but you don't see it, if you know what I mean. But that's just the way it goes. Yeah. So yeah, that scene was fun. That was like, I think it was 2:00 in the morning shooting that. It was freezing.
Oh man, yeah, no, I love that story because if I was the dude with the wires, I'd just be like, will I, won't I, will I, won't I, like the whole time, like what am I gonna do, huh? Decisions. So,
yeah.
Okay, what was that?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so all right, so I wanted to talk about real quick. So, what was the message that you hoped to convey with Dead Room? Like, how much did you have a part in that movie, and then how did you go about achieving a message if you wanted to convey one?
Dead Room, there was no message in Dead Room. Basically what happened was that when we sold Killing Zone, so we went to Cannes with the Killing Zone, and we had a screen in there, and come the day when the screening, me and Julian went in there, and there was 2 people at the back and 1 person at the front. So only 4 people turned up, and we were sitting there thinking, oh shit, nobody's going to buy this film. We've just put our money into it, and because we didn't have any contacts or anything like that. And then when we film had finished and we left, some guy come running out the theater, and he was like, oi, you guys make the film? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, I want to buy it. And I'm like, you want to buy it? And he goes, yeah, I want to buy that film. I'm a distributor, I want to buy it. And we were like, nah. And he kept saying, I'll give you this. And we kept saying, nah. And he kept saying, I'll give you that. And by the time we got to the end of the road, he had offered so much money, like 10 times more than what it cost. We couldn't say no. So we signed with that guy. But the thing is, though, we undersold it because the movie is a good movie. We could have sold that to a better distributor. But we didn't know what we were doing. It was the first time.
Right.
And with that money, we decided to say, with some of the money, we decided to say thank you to the cast and crew. And we said to the cast and crew, does anybody want to write or direct? We're going to give you a chance. We're going to make this film, and there's going to be a couple of stories in there. So if you want to write a story for it and you want to direct, this is your chance to direct. And I think it was 2 people that wanted to do it. And so I think it had 4 stories in the Dead Room. And so the basic premise was this. It's a house, and it has loads of people living in this house, loads of different rooms. But there's one room, every time it gets rented out, something strange happens to the people that rent that room out. And that was the premise. So we say, write a story for that premise, and a couple of people wrote a story for that premise. I think 1 person dropped out, and I had to end up directing one of the stories. But that was the premise. We wasn't really trying to say anything. We're just trying to say thank you to the people that helped us, basically.
Gotcha.
Right on. It didn't cost much to make. Right on. Because of Bad Day, I got the horror film Fallen Angels. So not Bad Day, because of a Dead Room.
Right on.
So a Canadian producer saw it, and they hired me to direct the horror film Fallen Angels, which was a big production. So that was quite nice. So there you go. One thing leads to another, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So what would you say would be the biggest difference between directing a web series like Rebecca Gold compared to a feature film?
Well, directing a web series, I say if I compare it to Fallen Angels, which was, I was just a hired gun. I was just a hired director to do that. You don't really have any control over what you really want to do. You can suggest stuff because the producer is the one with all the power. But that's how I experienced it anyway. And with Rebecca Gold, it was totally under my control. I can decide how long every episode would be. I can tell the actors what I need from them, tell the crew and stuff. But when you're directing a film that's under a producer, that's under a distributor, you're more or less a hired hand. I did argue a lot, saying, I want to do this and I want to do that. But I've learned there's no point in arguing with people like that. Do you know what, right? It's hard to argue with a clever person, but to argue with a stupid person, it's next to impossible, isn't it? And our producer on Fallen Angels was a complete moron. So it was I give an example, right? So there was a scene in it where the character's meant to be driving in this car, an American car, because it was shot in England and it was meant to be set in upstate New York. So they got this huge Thunderbird, right? And they got a low loader. I don't know if you know what a low loader is.
I don't.
Okay, so a low loader is the thing that you put the car on top so that you can put cameras on it, and it's like all the actors drive, and then the low loader would drive it, basically, so the actor doesn't have to worry about driving it for real. So when the low loader turned up, me and my friend Alan said to the producer, that Thunderbird's not going to fit on a low loader. And he just said to us, "You're a bunch of idiots. You don't know what you're talking about." I'm trying to do his accent here. And so me and Alan went to the green room. 5 hours later, he came back and said, "It doesn't fit on low loader." So that's the level that we were dealing with. That's the level that we're dealing with.
You're an idiot.
Yeah. That's the level we're dealing with. And he would try and scare me. Would say, "Oh, yeah, Michael Ironside's turning up tomorrow. He's really scary. You better be on your best behavior when you're, don't tell him what to do. He knows what to." And when he turned up, he was lovely. He wasn't scary. He was really nice, Same thing with Jeff Fahey. He was really nice. I didn't have any trouble out of them. It's just that the producer was just a moron. That's all. He didn't know what he was doing. So, but that's the difference. The difference is that if I was more in control of that film would have been 10 times better. But because they were trying to cut corners, obviously by hiring me, I guess, and we're trying to, he was trying to put his stamp on the film, and he thought he knew better. You just kind of ride the wave, and wherever you end up is wherever you end up. With Rebecca Gold, I was in total control. But remember, the first season the budget was tiny. It was like, I think it was $2,000, $3,000 at the end of the day. So that's why it was shot. It was shot so fast as well. I never intended it to. I didn't think it was going to be. I just thought I'd shoot this and be something to put on my resume. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. But people did like it, and it did win a crap load of awards, which I was really surprised.
Well,
there you go.
Not to kiss your butt, it is very good. I enjoy it. I watch it all the time.
That's good.
Yeah, no, I do enjoy it. It's very good. Okay. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about some challenges and some rewards that you've had in your directing career. But I wanted to ask, what was the biggest challenge you faced while making Bad Day?
I think personally, the biggest challenge is dealing with the actors. I'll give an example, right? So before I got Claire Goose, who's this, as I said to you, is a big TV star in England, I cast this girl to play the main character because obviously we didn't have any money. And I remember we were doing rehearsals, because I'm big in doing rehearsals before, because when you're doing a low budget shoot, you do rehearsals. So when you get on the set, it's merely a formality. Everybody knows what they're doing. So we had 2 weeks of rehearsal with actors, and this actress came on, and I said, well, I was directing. I was saying I want it this, like this, and she just turned around to me and said, my acting coach said I shouldn't do it that way. I should do it this way. Oh. And I got really pissed off. I was like, your acting coach is not directing this film. It's me. I'm directing this film. So just do what I say and do it. And then she had a big argument with me. And then I realized that I can't work with this girl. And so the next day I phoned her up and I said, sorry, I'm going to try and find someone else. And she got really upset, started crying on the phone and stuff. And the bad thing led to a good thing, which was us getting Claire Goose. But that's just one example of dealing with actors that basically, if they're too up themselves, they won't. Sometimes they think they know it all, but they don't really. I mean, sometimes they're good, sometimes they know exactly what they're doing, and sometimes like with Claire Goose, right? I would say to her, could you do it this way? And she'd go, yeah, okay. You know what I mean? And it's like, and she's she could just say to me, "Oh, what do you know?" Do you know what I mean? But she didn't. You know, she was really nice. There's some actors, but it's difficult dealing with actors. Like, I don't know if you remember the Black Boss, the Black Screaming Boss, is played by Robbie G, and he was in Snatch. He was in the film Snatch, right?
Okay.
The Guy Ritchie film, and he came in, and because we lost an actor, so he replaced him. And when he came in, he was like, when he said the lines, I was thinking to myself, "Oh my God, he's terrible." But then when I looked to the rushes, he was perfect. So it's really weird. Actors are really weird. Some actors can do that, some actors can't. My one of my friends, Anthony, who plays the main character Darius, he would muck around on set and joke and everything, and then when the camera turns, he's totally on it. Sometimes you get some actors that need to sit in a corner and evoke something from them to get into the mood and stuff like that. I mean, all actors are different, right? But it is very difficult dealing with them, especially when they have some kind of method to get the performance out of them, if you know what I mean. So
I feel you.
yeah. Did I answer that question? I don't
No,
know.
no, no. Speaking of, like you said, Darius was fun on set. What was
Yeah.
the most unusual or funny thing that happened on set? Not necessarily for that bad day, but well, you can say bad day if you want.
Unusual, funny. I don't know. I remember getting in Killing Zone. I remember getting angry because we had props, we had prop guns, right? As I said, in those days where you couldn't put the muzzle flash in digital, you had to have a little tiny explosion within the gun, and you had to have a wire going through the barrel and then connected to the guy's hand, and
So
then
much
obviously
fun.
somebody's like that. I remember the props guy put them down on the pavement and went away and came back and it was gone. I remember shouting at him saying, "How could you be so stupid to leave something that we set up with explosion in it on the pavement without even supervising it?" Yeah, I remember shouting at him, being really angry at him. I remember that. I remember. I can just tell you, I remember the Killing Zone more so than Bad Day. I remember the Killing Zone. We had a first, okay, right? So basically, when we hired people and we told people we're going to get paid, we had this girl from she was a first, and she worked for the BBC, and so she came in and she was doing firsting for me, and then we were going over, so we scheduled the location from from 10 till 8, and we're supposed to go home, but we went over. We were going from 10 till 12 in the morning, 12 in the night. And she came up to me and she said, "Ian, we have to stop." And I said, "Why do we have to stop?" She goes, "Because the crew are really tired, and let's stop and pick this up on another day." And I said, "Do you have the money for us to come back another day?" She goes, "No." And I said, "Well, we're going to carry on shooting." And she got really pissed off and she left. So when I turned around, somebody said she'd gone. And I said, "Fine." So I promoted Gavin. He was the third, and Gavin had no experience whatsoever. And I said, just, just whatever. But what I had to do was I had to address the whole of the cast and crew. And I said, "Look, we are way below our schedule, and we're going to probably finish at 4 o'clock in the morning. We have to finish this scene because we can't come back to this location again. We can't afford it." And I said, "If anyone wants to leave, they can leave now." And nobody left. And Frank, who's the same guy that gave me money for Bad Day, he got his credit card out and he bought all these beers. So everybody got drunk, and we would complete the scene. So that's, I guess that's funny, but it's also I got to take my hat off to the cast and crew, because all of them were dedicated. They all wanted to finish it, because all of them weren't part of the industry. None of us was part of the industry, apart from the girl from the BBC, of course. And we were all giving our all to actually finish the film. Do you know what I mean? It was a dedication thing, So, but yeah, I can't. Bad Day, we didn't really have that much trouble in Bad Day at all. In fact, Bad Day was quite smooth. Apart from some of the actors, we had one actor and he left. We thought he was terrible, so we reshot his stuff. But yeah, yeah, that's
Right on.
what I remember. Really, really.
So as far as your project goes, what would you say is the most rewarding project you've worked on, and why?
I would say the best thing I've done so far is The Killing Zone, because I cannot believe I did that. I cannot believe we all did that. That was an impossible thing we did because we were young. So there's this producer called what's his name? Chris Jones. Okay, and he wrote this book. Everybody bought this book. It was called the Gorilla's Handmaker book on film. So basically, it was a book, and it showed you how to make a low budget film. Right, there was no internet at that time. The Gorilla's Handmakers film book, whatever. And everybody had this book. Even I had this book to learn how to make a low budget film. And so one day, Julian said to me, well, why don't we just go and visit Chris Jones and ask him for some advice? So we contacted him, and we went up to, he was in Elstree Studios, or was it Elstree, or was it Euston Studios? I can't remember. We went to the studio, we sat down there, and we said to him, look, we got £14,000 and we want to shoot this film. And he goes, what are you shooting on? I guess Super 16. And he looked at us and he said, don't do it. And we said, why? And he goes, you'll never complete it. He goes, that's impossible. You cannot make a film in 2 weeks, a 90-minute piece in 2 weeks, 2 weeks with £14,000. Because it's impossible to do it. So me and Julian said, okay. And when we left, we were like, fuck him. We're going to do it anyway. So we did it. Do you know what I mean? So as I said, I can't do it. As it stands now, I'd never be able to do it now because I wouldn't have the energy to do it. But in those days, you know, I had all the energy in the world.
Oh, yeah.
If you think about it, it's impossible. Okay, so let me just try and tell you how impossible it was, right? So when you shoot on film, a lot of people don't know this, unless you're a filmmaker, you literally have to have the can of film. Then you have to have, there's this bag called the dark bag, basically. So you put the film in the bag and you zip it up, and there's 2 holes where you put your hands in. So if any light goes in there, it'll fog the film, right? So you have to take it off take it out of the can, and then you've got the mag in there, and you have to put it on the mag, right? Without seeing, because your hands are in the bag. And then once that's all done, you close it, open the bag up, and you put it on the camera, right?
Sounds
that has
terrible.
To happen. Yeah, so that's what I think. It's like 20 minutes of usable film on that mag, right?
Oh, gotcha.
Then what you do is when you shoot, you have to shoot. You go action, you shoot it. Then when you go cut, it's not onto the next scene. It's check the gate. So what that means is you open the lens and you get a magnifying glass and a torch, and you look on the film. And if you see a hair in the film, you're going again.
Man.
Because in those days, you couldn't digitally remove a bit of hair of the film. So you literally had to go again. If you see like a big hair wobbling around in films, that's called the hair in the gate. And so every time you shot something, you had to do that. But also, if you shoot on film, you have to make sure everybody knows what they're doing, because you can't go again. So I think the most takes we ever did was 3. So, that's one aspect of how difficult it is. We had tracking shots in our film, which I never attempt today because it takes so long to do. Could you imagine we did tracking shots and we were shooting in Super 16? It was madness, absolute madness. But it is. I'm very proud of The Killing Zone. It's probably one of the best things I ever directed personally. I mean, Bad Day was shot really fast, and I didn't really have time to direct it in such a way, as in camera angles and stuff like that. We just shot it like a documentary, shot it really fast. So Bad Day was shot really, really fast. But I'm still proud of that one too. But I think Killing Zone was the best thing I ever did, because we're inexperienced, and because I think my imagination was so much better in those days as well. So yeah, I think that might have answered your question. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. Yeah. Okay, so how do you think that your style has evolved over the years?
I don't think I have a style. every project's different, right? So you know what, right? I'm this age and I've only just learned about how to direct properly, if you know what I mean. I've learned so much within the last 2 years about directing that I never knew when I started the Killing Zone or Bad Day or anything. So I think I'm a better director now than I ever was, but the chances are very slim now to make stuff. If you know what I mean, it's very slim. So making everything's an experiment. Making season 2 of Rebecca Gold, I'm experimenting with things and trying to make it better and stuff like that. I'll let you know one thing I did on I'm not giving you any spoilers, but there's one scene in it where
No
Rebecca
spoil.
Rebecca is has this conversation with Jackie.
Mhm.
And so they're having the conversation on the phone. Okay, so she's got Rebecca on loudspeaker. And so what I wanted to show was they both live in different worlds. Obviously Rebecca is an assassin and Jackie's just an ordinary person. So to do that, because it wasn't in the script, what I had was Jackie having a cup of coffee and drinking a cup of coffee while she's talking to Rebecca, and Rebecca in her bedroom cleaning her guns. So visually, that tells you that they come from both worlds, but they kind of made a connection anyway.
Mm.
And so it's little things like that I never did with Bad Day or even the Killing Zone, that I begin to realize a lot of directors do that. With especially Spielberg, he does a lot of stuff like that. So I've been trying to experiment things like that when I'm directing Rebecca Gold, I guess, season 2. It
Yeah.
looks so much better, this version, because we're shooting like a movie rather than we shot the other one like a TV show. But this one,
Mhm.
we're trying to shoot as fast, like a fast movie. So the lighting's better and stuff. So
Right on.
yeah.
Well, how would you say that, like, how has the landscape of independent filmmaking changed since you started?
um, it's a well, streaming has destroyed cinema, right? Well, so they
Right.
say. Um, it has changed actually. It's actually, I don't think it has changed. Tell you the truth, it was always a door closed kind of organization. Again, I don't know about America. I think America's very different. In England, it's all about the class system. Again, as I say to you, you name me one working class actor. There's a few, but majority of them are all upper class, middle class actors. And it seems like that the door is shut for actors, working class actors, as well as filmmakers. It, obviously, without mentioning the message and the agenda, that's changed filmmaking today, right? In the 80s, I think the film was more stable, but even then, you know, being a working class person, you know, you couldn't really move forward unless you had contacts. And the only way to get contacts is to be in the circle. And the way to be in the circle is to be quite wealthy or almost wealthy, if you know what I mean. So
Mm.
people like me and people of my ilk, we really didn't stand a chance. And it's still not part of the industry to this day, really, to tell you the truth.
Mm.
But you know, it's the way it goes, I guess.
Right on. So, what would you say is one of the biggest mistakes that filmmakers make?
Um, I, I don't. I've made loads of mistakes. You know, sometimes when I think some filmmakers don't. I give it. I don't want to mention any names, but I have a few friends that.
No, mention
No,
names.
I can't. I can't. I have a few friends that send me their stuff and they say, "Ah, yeah, I made this, whatever." And I look at it and I think to myself, "This is amateurish, amateur hour." And I say to myself, "How could they not see this is amateur hour?" There's one guy on the internet who he was on the uh what's that show called? There's a show on YouTube where they talk to script writers and they talk to up and coming directors. Film Courage.
Mhm.
That's where we discovered what's his name? The guy, Chris Gore. Chris Gore was in Film Courage, and that's where we discovered him, didn't we? So there's a film, a thing called Film Courage, and there was one guy on there who basically sold his film to Tubi and whatever and stuff like that, and he was talking about how he did it and stuff. And I was thinking to myself, wow, he's done a lot. So I went to his YouTube channel and I watched like a trailer for his new film, and I just went, it's like you sold. How could you sell these films? They're terrible. You know, this is terrible. Do you know what I mean? Even though it was just a trailer, I was thinking, and it looked. You can tell there was money spent on it, and I was just thinking, this doesn't work. There's a feeling. There's a
Mhm.
there's a tone to movies that you know you have to adopt, and it just seems that they don't know how to do it. But going back to the biggest mistake that filmmakers make is I think it's all down to the script, really. If they have a bad script and they don't realize how bad the script is, I think it spoils everything. I think that's what it is. But
Mm.
again, right, when you watch I mean, people can decide on my stuff because it's all there to look at. But I can honestly truly say that none of my stuff is amateurish at all. You know, if you watch Fallen Angels, that's not amateurish. If you watch Bad Day, it's definitely not amateurish. You know, Killing Zone's definitely not amateurish. I mean, Dave Cullen gave it a good review. I don't know if you ever saw that. So I think it's all down to the script. If you got a bad script, it doesn't matter what you do. You can have all the crap money in the world. You can have the best DOP. If it's crap, it's crap. It's gonna fail, isn't it? So, but anyway, that's what I
Right
think.
on.
Yeah.
How do you choose the themes and genres for your films?
It's just whatever springs to mind. I mean, it's not a lot of people like to add there's a mystery, there's a method to writing scripts and stuff like that. Yes, I have learned how to write scripts 101 style. You have to have the beginning, middle, and the end. You have to have the scene breakdown and blah 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 blah. But to tell you the truth, how I write scripts is basically I just write.
Mhm.
I write until it's finished, and then I go back and look at it and figure out what doesn't work and pacing and stuff like that. And then that's what I do. A lot of people go on courses to write screenplays, how to make it work and stuff like that. But I think a lot of people forget that a screenplay, when you read a screenplay, you can interpret it 1,000 ways in your head,
Mhm.
but it's only the person that actually develops it and makes it into a visual medium. That's when you'll realize what it truly is. So when people criticize screenplays, they can criticize it if it doesn't make any sense. Like, for instance, if a guy is in one room and he walks out the door and he's in Hawaii, for instance, that doesn't make any sense, right? But if they criticize it because the guy's wearing red shoes and they don't like red shoes, that's a stupid criticism, right? So
Mhm.
you can criticize it, but at the end of the day, right, it's the finished product. At the end of the day, I think a lot of people don't realize that. I think a lot of big producers realize that if they have a bad script, they get a good director on board. The good director can turn it into something better.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so the script is not all the be all and end all in my opinion. So I mean, look at Jaws. If you read the novel Jaws, it's nothing like the movie.
Yeah,
The
it's
movie's
nothing like
completely different. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So Spielberg knew what he was doing. So there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you had kind of talked about like your budget and stuff like that with your movies, but how do you balance your creative vision with the budget constraints that you have on independent films?
Well, with the Killing Zone, I had to
Mm.
write for the budget. So I there were locations that I knew I could get, so I just implemented it into the script.
Mm.
So we just worked all of that into the budget, so it worked for the budget. With Dead Room was the same thing. With Fallen Angels, that was out of my hands because that wasn't my production. It was the distributors, and they coughed up the money and stuff like that. So
Mm.
um, so I was working with the constraints that they set me. With Bad Day, it was the same thing. Get locations that for free and stuff like that, and we did. So we shot we shot an abandoned police station, right? For Bad Day, and they had a student that was looking after this complex because they abandoned this place, and it was a huge complex. So we were speaking to him one day, and he said, "Yeah, come in, get your production in here." So we had rooms that we did fight choreographing. We had rooms that we did rehearsals, all for free. It was all for free.
Oh,
And
nice.
then the sequence at the ending where they're in the warehouse, that was part of that complex as well. We shot another location outside. The cab firm was in the complex. Do you know what I mean? So it's like that was like a little mini studio for us. So we were lucky with that. So that's what I'm saying. So you kind of, if you've got a budget, you kind of have to figure out a way how you can get locations and make it look bigger, you know, bigger than it is, kind of thing. So, and that's what we did. But I said with season 2 of Rebecca Gold, I just threw caution to the wind. I'm like, you know, screw that. You know, I'm just going to do it step by step. And quite frankly, we're doing it. So
Right
yeah,
on.
there you go.
Do you have any, like, because I hear about this all the time, but do you have any quirky rituals or routines when you start a new project?
No,
you're not allowed.
No,
you're not all like, you know, everybody, we have to drink hot chocolate day one.
No,
we drink hot chocolate on my first film, and it turned out great, and I need it to happen again.
No, not at all. No,
Okay.
not at all.
It's cool. I would have much preferred you said something fun, but no, it's cool. It's cool. It happens. So you had kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but I wanted to come circle back to it. How do you handle criticism for your work?
I don't. I think everybody's entitled to their opinion. And I remember when Bad Day came out, there was a newspaper called Metro, and it was free. It was like whole of London. It was free. When you got on the tube, they gave it to you. You know, when you were on trains, they gave it to you. I remember there was not even, it wasn't even a page review of Bad Day. It was like a little column, and it said, "This film is awful." It said, was this phone shot on a mobile phone? You know, and it was obvious that the person that reviewed it hadn't seen it. Right? It was so obvious. I remember everybody telling me you should read this review. And it didn't get me angry. It just made me laugh because it's such a tiny film, and they want to slag it off. It's easy to slag off something, but quite frankly, right, it doesn't really bother me if people don't like Bad Day or didn't like Killing Zone or whatever and stuff like that. It doesn't bother because everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? And I don't argue with them. I remember somebody wrote on Twitter. I can't remember. I put something up and somebody said, You're a filmmaker, writer, are you? And then basically he got some reviews from IMDb on Bad Day, and there were bad reviews, and he printed it, and he goes, "You're a terrible filmmaker." And all I typed was, "You're probably right." And that was it. You know what I mean? So you know, why, you know, he's obviously looking for a fight, an argument, and I didn't give him one. So, but you know, I don't care if people don't like my work, because it doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter. If it's good, if I know it's good, then people are going to find it, right?
Right.
Anything that's good always get found at the end of the day. You know, a Bad Day's only getting noticed now because, I guess, because of the streaming thing and because Sarah Harden died and stuff like that. And that was made, what, over 10 years ago, Bad Day? And it's only getting noticed now. Killing Zone got noticed by Dave Cullen. So hopefully other people will watch it, because I'm very fond of Killing Zone. If I ever had the chance to remake it, I would remake it. I think it's quite a good little film. If I do say so personally. And if you look at the Killing Zone very carefully, you can tell there's passion in there. You can tell the DOP wanted to light it the best he can. You can tell the actors wanted to do their best. You can tell, right? Even though sometimes when you look at it, it does look quite cheap, some shots. I think the second story, we didn't have enough lights to light that properly. And it does look like it was on a shoestring budget. But I think the first story and the last story, they all look like, you know, they were shot for TV. So do you know what I mean? So there you go. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, no, I like the Killing Zone. I also like the scene. It's so small, but I like when the main assassin guy is like, he's sneaking into the building, and then he just like walks past. They're just like,
yeah.
And I'm all like, what are you? I was like, And I'm all like, but that's probably how it would be. Like they're just like they're nonchalant. You just like walk like nonchalant. You just like, okay, I love killing. Just like just
But it was meant to be. It was meant to be. It was like some of it's serious. But the first story is quite serious, right? It doesn't really bother me, when Rebecca Gold comes out. It's people are going to criticize it, and they're entitled to criticize it, but always I did the best I can making that. So I think somebody put on Killing Zone fail harder or something like that. Someone put some stupid weird comment and I just left it there. I'm like, yeah, if that makes you happy, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not like Chris Stuckman as well. I mean, I do understand how hard it is to make films, but that's no excuse. That's no excuse for a good movie. Do you know what I mean? If you're in constraints, you have to make a good movie. That's the whole point. If you don't make a good movie, then then you have to say it's a bad movie. But I don't think anything that I've made is bad, to tell you the truth. I don't think it is. But so there you go.
Well, I promise if you make something bad, I'll tell you. I'm
good.
I'm not shy. I'm not shy. And I haven't seen everything you've done. I didn't see Fallen Angels, but what I have seen, I did see Killing Zone, and I did see Bad Day, and then I love Rebecca Gold. That's like my favorite. I just love it.
So with Fallen Angels, I didn't get a copy of that film. They wouldn't give me a copy of the film. So basically I brought it on. I think I bought it on DVD and upscaled. I tried to upscale it, so the quality is not so good on YouTube, but it's all there. It's all there. It is a slasher movie. I don't know if you remember the 80s. They used to have loads of slasher movies, and this was a low budget slasher movie. Yeah,
I loved it. They don't make movies like they used to. It's
no.
Okay, so when it comes to ethics wise, have you ever faced any ethical dilemmas in your filmmaking career?
Not really. I remember somebody sending me a message on Twitter when it was known as Twitter, saying how much they liked Rebecca Gold, and they wrote this long paragraph, and then right at the ending they said, "Oh, I forgot to ask you this question: is Katie gay?" And I text back saying, "No, Katie's not gay." And then I just got a barrage of insults saying, "How dare you cast someone that's not gay to play a gay character," and stuff like that. And I just blocked that person. So that's me dealing with that. Do you know what I mean? So that's the only
acting fuckers.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember. I mean, I thought about this very carefully. So one of the reasons why I'm making season 2 is to show these idiots that you can have someone that's gay, and the story is not about her sexuality. It's basically about her life, or it's basically about, you know what I mean? You can make a story with diversity, and you can do it right. And so I think that's what I've done on this. I mean, look at Bad Day. Bad Day was made over 10 years ago, and who's the stars of that? 2 female people and a person of color.
Yeah.
So I was doing it well before they decided that this is important, which is kind of stupid, really. But there you go.
Right on. Yeah, no. Yeah, you're totally right. Okay, so some fun questions. All right. What is your favorite film of all time and why?
E.T. is my favorite film of all time, tell you the truth. And a lot of people scoff at that. But the thing is that if you know about directing and you know about the whole concept of filmmaking, you'll realize that film is pure genius. It really is, from the direction to the music to the performances from the kids. I mean, the story is the story, but the amount of emotion that it basically evokes from you when you're watching that film, I think it really is a genius piece of filmmaking. I mean, the bit with the frogs is just so well directed. Do you know what I mean? The whole of the film is just, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, just the idea that you don't see the guy with the keys, but it's him. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And just the idea that he's connected to E.T. and he sees the frogs and he wants to save the frogs, and you have all that shot where the frogs are leaping and stuff like that. Yeah, and the bit where the scientists turn up and you have that shot with the sunrise and you see them come up the hill. It's all so incredibly well directed and such a great piece of I'd go as far as to call it art as far as I was concerned. I just think it's a great movie. Yeah, yeah. I just think it's a great movie.
It is a great movie. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people obviously will scoff at that, and they probably expect me to say The Big Blue or bloody I don't know, 2001.
Yeah, or like
know,
The
but
Godfather.
Godfather, or
Yeah, yeah.
but I
Yeah,
think
this movie's
E.T. is
good, but
great.
no, you're not wrong. Your E.T. is a great film. It's a great film. Okay, so if you could direct any actor, living or dead, who would it be and why?
I'd like. Who's my favorite actor? My favorite actor is Robert De Niro, even though a lot of people don't like him recently because of his politics. I mean, the thing is that he'd be really simple to direct, though. There's no way you can direct a man like that. You just point him in the right direction and wind him up, and then he goes off. I think I do like George Clooney as well, but then these actors they're well established, right? I think when it comes to female actors, I think I'd really like to direct Sandra Bullock.
I love Sandra Bullock.
So do I. I think she'd be fun to work with. But again, right. I don't know. There are loads of, I'd like to work with I tell you what, I'd like to work with any kind of a Hollywood actor because I like to learn off them as well. They must have a wealth of knowledge on how to tackle stuff and stuff. Like I remember when I was directing Fallen Angels, and I don't know if you know who Jeff Fahey is. He was in The Lawnmower Man and loads of films. I remember directing him and saying, "Oh, can you say it this way?" And he'd say, "Okay," and then I go action, and he does it, and he go cut, and I said, "Oh, that was terrific," and he would say to me, "But Ian, I want to do it again." I goes, "Oh, okay, let's do it again." And he goes, "What I'll do is I'll give you 3 versions." So when you're in the editing room, you have 3 different versions to cut with. And so I kind of learned off him. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. So I'd like to work with any kind of well-established actor who I can learn off. I mean, that's the ideal, right? So I can bounce ideas off them and then learn how they do it as well. Michael Keaton, I'd love to work with Michael Keaton. I admire him. He's more than Batman. He's a brilliant actor as far as I'm concerned. Anything you see him in, he always brings his A game.
Oh yeah, he's great. He's great. Yeah. I love him in that McDonald's movie. I can't remember.
It was great. Yeah, The Founder.
The Founder. He was great. That movie was really, really good.
Yeah, he's really good. Yeah, I'd like to work with him. He's a terrific actor.
Yeah, he's really good. All right, if you weren't a filmmaker, what other career would you pursue?
I'd probably be an artist. I'd probably be building stuff. I can draw caricatures and stuff like that. Oops, sorry. Stuff like that. I can draw. So I'd probably be a comic book artist, probably. I mean, I did work for 2000 AD, which is a long time ago, as a backup artist. But that was before I got into film. So I'd probably be an artist, definitely.
Right on. Yeah. No, that's a good answer. So what is your response to people that say independent films can't compete with mainstream cinema?
I agree. Totally agree with them. Of course it can't compete because they've got all the money behind them and independent films don't. But if you make a really good independent film, see, the idea was in the old days to make an independent film, get noticed by Hollywood and then get hired by Hollywood. But I think it's very different now because Hollywood is so kind of screwed at the moment. A lot of people are abandoning LA and they're going living elsewhere and stuff like that. And also Hollywood's dying, cinema's dying, so they say. So I think at this moment in time, independent filmmakers, if they use this time wisely, they can literally get noticed and maybe end up doing something for streaming, which is probably the goal now, isn't it? Because Hollywood's kind of died on his ass at the moment. Well, it might come back. You never know.
Right on.
Yeah.
And so then what advice would you give to aspiring filmmakers?
uh, I would say just make stuff, because it's so much easier to make stuff now than when I was growing up. I remember going to see Back to the Future, wishing I had that camera that Marty McFly had. Do you know what I mean? I remember saying to myself, if only I had that camera, I could make stuff. Because my dad brought a camera once, and it wasn't Super 8, it was Standard 8. I don't know if you know the difference. You couldn't get any Standard 8 film anyway, so I just looked at the camera and didn't do anything with it. Do you know
Oh
what I mean?
man.
So I think my advice to filmmakers is just to make stuff, whether it be on your phone. Just learn as much as you can by making mistakes. That's my advice.
Right
And
on.
don't listen to anyone. Just do what you want to do at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are your future projects or plans in the pipeline?
I mean, I'd like to make a horror one day. I'd love to make a romantic film, but I've got a few ideas in my head. I mean, I do like romance movies. I know it sounds a bit weird, but I do,
No,
because the only
not at
films I've
all.
the only films I've made is people shooting people. so yeah, I'd like to make a nice little romance film, because, like, sometimes I think to myself, there are a lot of films out there, and they all deal with, you know, depression or killing or whatever. And I think when you watch something like Paddington, you just end up really laughing and loving that film,
Mhm.
because it's so full of joy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even though he has problems and almost died in the last one and under the water and stuff like that, you still feel the joy of
Mhm.
who he is and stuff like that. So
I love
I
those
think,
movies.
yeah, they're great. They're great. So I think maybe one day I should make a movie like that, rather than people
With a
shooting each
bear.
other. Well, not with a beer. Cross it between that and a romance or something like that.
Right
Just
on.
to just to do something that's different, because at the end of the day, right, you can't just keep doing the same thing all the
Right.
time, can you? You've got to branch out and try and experiment, especially if you're not using Hollywood's money, especially if you're using your own money. You might as well experiment. you know
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, you do have Rebecca Gold season 2, which I'm personally looking forward to,
Mm.
which I will leave a link down below. But, you know, when do you think that'll be coming out? Rebecca Gold season 2?
I'm I'm going to so basically we've shot almost 80% of it so
Mhm.
far. So, and I'm shooting on Friday, a sequence on Friday, and hopefully, when I've shot the sequence on Friday, I can get a little trailer out. And so the beginning sequence is really expensive to shoot. So I'm hoping to do an Indiegogo campaign once I put a trailer out, and hoping that people will donate and stuff. Hoping to raise, I don't know, maybe £10,000 or something like that, to do the beginning sequence, and then it would be done. And if I don't raise £10,000, I'll figure out a way how to do it. I may have to rewrite the beginning sequence. I don't know, but it will come out, and it'll probably come out next year, February or so. And then people can slag it off, or like it. I don't know. We'll find out.
Oh, they're gonna like it. I love it. It's great. It's great.
But Rebecca Old is it's not it. I wouldn't say it's an action piece. It has a lot of heart. Well, it's a romance as well. It's a romance.
Mhm.
It's, this girl's in love with another girl. I mean, it is a romance, but it has got violence in it. It's got blood in it. So,
Yeah.
you know, we'll see
Yeah.
anyway. We'll see what people think of it.
Right on. Yeah, no, I'm excited for it. So,
Good.
yeah. So you got at least one fan.
Very good. So
Well,
you're
thank
the fan.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sitting down with me and talking about making films and everything and
No
directing. I
worries.
really appreciate it. I've had such a good time with this, and I like listening to your stories and everything. Where can people find you at?
I'm on X as Ian David Diaz. I think it's the Mega Geek Ian David Diaz. I'm on obviously on YouTube. Just look right Rebecca Gold. You'll find my channel, and I'm on Instagram. Rebecca Gold official channels on Instagram as well as Facebook, and I'm on there too. So I'm easy to find, really. I'm not hiding.
And I will leave all the links down below, including to your GoFundMe and all
Cheers.
that stuff. So you guys can check that stuff out below. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this interview and everything. If you like what you see, go ahead and hit that like button, but go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. You know, I won't mind. Ian, you won't mind either.
Nah, I won't mind.
Of course, all right? If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it, and I will see you guys on my next video. You guys have a good day. Bye.